Story 1. The Late Night Office Apparition. I work at a game development company in Orlando, Florida. The job can be stressful, and as a deadline approached, I found myself staying late at the office almost every night that week. It was a rainy Wednesday evening, and the outside world was swallowed in darkness. Every now and then, a bolt of lightning would briefly illuminate my office, and the rhythmic tapping of rain against the window was oddly soothing as I focused on my coding. By this point, only one other person remained in the office. My coworker Chaz. He too was working against a tight deadline. Sometime between 8 and 9 o'clock, he knocked on my office door to let me know he was heading out. He asked if I was okay with locking up, and I assured him I had no problem with it. I heard the front door close with a definitive slam, and then I was alone. Our office is shaped like an L, with the entrance at one end and my workspace tucked into the farthest corner. I was in the short part of the L, making mine the most isolated office in the building. Feeling my energy start to wane, I decided to step away for a moment and make a cup of coffee. I walked down the hall to the kitchen, where I leaned against the counter, waiting for the coffee to heat up. That's when I heard it. The sound of a door closing. I froze. Peering into the hallway, I scanned for movement. The corridor was still empty. "Hello," I called. My voice met only with silence. The sound had been too subtle to be the front entrance. It must have come from one of the smaller private offices. I left the kitchen and walked down both hallways, testing the doors. All of them were locked. Then I turned down my hall. Something was different. Every door in my section was shut, including mine. I distinctly remembered leaving it open. There was no draft, no open windows. Nothing should have caused it to move. A strange feeling crept up my spine. Was someone else still here? With my heart pounding, I swung the door open, half expecting someone to jump out. But the office was exactly as I had left it: my chair, my computer, my scattered papers. Uneasy but determined to finish my work, I shook it off and returned to my desk. The rain continued to fall, and the occasional lightning strike flashed through the window. A few even startled me. Time passed, and soon it was too late to still be at the office. I had made good progress, so I decided to call it a night. I saved my work, clicked, shut down, and turned off my screen. The monitor went black, and in its reflection, I saw her, a woman, standing behind me. A bolt of ice shot through my veins. I couldn't breathe, couldn't blink. I didn't turn around. I forced myself to stand up slowly, grabbing my bag with steady hands, pretending I hadn't noticed her at all. With measured steps, I walked to the door, not daring to look back. I didn't even close it behind me. Only when I was halfway down the hall did I break into a sprint. Bolted through the exit, down the flight of stairs, and out into the rain. Even in the open air, my chest was tight with terror. I fumbled for my keys, got into my car, and locked the doors. My heart was hammering against my ribs. Then something compelled me to look up. My office window was still lit, and through the blinds, I saw a small crease, a gap, as if something was peering down at me. I grabbed my phone and immediately called one of my bosses, Miranda. She assured me that no one else should have been there. She promised to contact security to investigate. Later that night, Miranda called back. The security guard had searched the office. There was no one inside. I told her again what I had seen, my voice trembling. It even unsettled her. There's only one security camera in the entire office positioned at the end of the longer hall near the kitchen. She checked the footage. No one had been caught on camera. No woman, No movement. Nothing. Story 2. The Basement Intruder. Years ago, I worked as a security guard in an office building in Midtown Manhattan. It was a relatively quiet job, mostly consisting of standing watch in the lobby and occasionally patrolling the premises. For the most part, nothing exciting ever happened. That changed one cold November Monday. An employee from a dermatology office on one of the upper floors had gone down to the basement to retrieve Christmas decorations for the office. When she returned, she reported that all the lights were out and the elevator wouldn't descend to the basement level. At first, it sounded like an issue for maintenance. But then, she added something that changed everything. There were multiple doors in the basement that had been smashed open. That's when it became my problem. Since the elevator was out of commission, I had no choice but to take the stairs. And worse, I had to go down there alone. I grabbed my flashlight and descended. The basement housed storage rooms, electrical panels, and janitorial supplies. It was a cramped maze of narrow corridors, made even more disorienting by the darkness. My only guide was the beam of my flashlight. A feeling of unease settled over me as I walked, my footsteps echoing down the empty hallways. Then I saw them, the broken doors. One after another, they stood ajar, some barely hanging onto their hinges. The damage was severe, like someone had taken an axe to them. My gut tightened. This wasn't just a case of forced entry. Someone had gone to war on these doors. Peering into each room, I expected to find signs of theft. But strangely, everything still seemed to be there: supplies, decorations, office equipment. Whatever the intruder was after, it wasn't material. A sudden, sharp bang echoed through the basement. I froze. Then, an eerie silence swallowed the space. Even the distant hum of pipes and the subtle creaks of the old building had ceased. It was as if the entire basement had been drained of sound. A prickling sensation ran up my spine. Someone was still down here. With a dry throat, I called out, "Hello." My voice bounced off the walls, the echo stretching farther than it should have. No response. I swallowed hard and started backing toward the stairs. I wasn't about to investigate further. This was a job for NYPD, not an unarmed security guard making minimum wage. I was nearly at the stairwell when I heard it. Breathing, not mine. Heavy, ragged, breathing coming from around the last corner before the stairwell. My pulse spiked. My grip on the flashlight tightened. I turned off the light, trying to move as quietly as possible. Every step felt thunderous in the suffocating silence. Then, the breathing stopped. I dared to peek around the corner. That's when I saw it. Standing there, partially turned toward the wall, was a massive, hunched figure. It clutched something long and solid, a weapon. Even in the dimness, I could make out details. A disturbingly pale, elongated face, a bald head, and an unnatural stillness, as if it were waiting. A wave of dread crashed over me. Then, the figure's head twitched slightly toward my direction, reacting to the light I had just flicked back on. That was all I needed. I turned and ran. I tore up the stairs, my breath ragged, my body screaming at me to move faster. As I reached the top, I slammed the basement door shut behind me and locked it. With trembling fingers, I dialed 911. Within minutes, multiple NYPD units arrived. Officers swarmed the building, descending into the basement in groups. I waited in the lobby, my body still thrumming with adrenaline. Then, the officers emerged. Alone, they hadn't found anyone. Whoever or whatever had been down there had vanished. The building's electricians were called in to restore power. They found that the circuit box had been tampered with, explaining why the basement was left in darkness. Even after the lights were back on, the police conducted another sweep. Still, nothing. There were multiple staircases leading up from the basement. He could have used any of them to escape. Everyone believed what I saw. The doors didn't just smash themselves open. I called out sick for the next few days. I spent every night lying awake in my darkened room, staring into the corners, expecting to see a tall, pale figure looming in the shadows. Story 3. The Vanishing Nurse's Office. Back in 2002, I landed my first job working the graveyard shift at a call center in Makati. The office was brand new, still under construction in certain areas, which created an unsettling atmosphere at night. The layout of the office was unusual. It was shaped like an elongated donut, with the elevator lobby at the center. One half of the office was fully operational, with a bright, bustling production floor, a pantry, and offices for managers. The other half was different. It was still under renovation, with exposed wires, unfinished floors, and dim lighting. This side of the office housed the conference rooms, storage areas, and restrooms. At night, the security guards would turn off the lights completely, leaving it in near total darkness. Nobody lingered there unless they absolutely had to. If you needed to use the restroom, you made a mad dash to and from it. One night, a teammate of mine started feeling really sick. She had an awful migraine, and our team leader suggested she visit the nurse's office, which, unfortunately, was located in the unfinished part of the office. I volunteered to accompany her. We walked through the dimly lit hallway, past the eerily silent conference rooms, until we reached a door marked Nurse's Office. The light was on inside. Through the small vertical window panel on the door, we could see inside there was a desk, a sick bed, medical equipment, everything you'd expect in a nurse's station, but the door was locked. Thinking the nurse had stepped out, we decided to come back later. After about 30 minutes, we returned, and that's when things got strange. The light inside was off. I felt a flicker of irritation. Had the nurse gone home early? My friend still wasn't feeling great, and we were hoping for some medication. Just to be sure, I tried the door handle, and to my surprise, it opened. The door swung inward, revealing a completely empty, unfinished room. Bare concrete floors, exposed wiring, no furniture, no desk, no bed, no medical equipment. The nurse's office wasn't there. My stomach tightened. I checked the sign above the door. It still read Nurse's Office. We were in the right place. I turned to my friend, hoping she would reassure me that I was imagining things, but her face was pale, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. We had both seen a fully furnished nurse's office just 30 minutes ago. Now, it was as if it had never existed. A guard approached us at that moment, asking what we were doing. We tried explaining what had just happened, but he wasn't buying it. He scoffed, assuming we were playing a joke on him. But before any of us could say another word, the temperature in the room plummeted. It felt as if an invisible wave of cold air had washed over us. A shiver ran down my spine. The hairs on my arms stood on end. My heartbeat thundered in my chest. Nobody spoke. We just stood there, frozen. Then, my teammate burst into tears, her breath coming in panicked gasps. That was enough for the guard. He hurriedly shooed us away, slammed the door shut, and locked it behind him. We rushed back to our workstations and told our team leader what had happened. He just sat there, stunned, as we recounted the experience. Minutes later, my teammate's panic attack worsened, and she was rushed to Makati Med. The incident was never spoken of again, but I still wonder, that fully furnished nurse's office, was it from the past? Or was it something that was never supposed to be seen at all? Sometimes, reality is scarier than any horror movie. These stories prove that not everything can be explained, that the unknown might be much closer than we think. If you enjoy real and terrifying stories, don't forget to leave a like to support the channel. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. Share with someone who loves horror stories. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable? Share your story in the comments. Who knows, it might be featured in the next video. Stay alert, stay safe. See you next time.